SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Discover Covington County Hospital's swing bed program, offering comprehensive care for patients transitioning from acute hospital care to home. With a focus on rehabilitation, we ensure a smooth journey back to your home environment. Choose Covington County Hospital, where your health care matters.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Good morning.
Way past 21.
Welcome aboard. Thursday morning, October the 9th. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thank you for being with us. Glad to have you along for the ride. Another busy day coming up. At least I think there's another busy day coming up. A lot happening in the world. Just doesn't slow down. If you want to join us, if you want to be part of the conversation, the C Spire text line is the best way for you to do that at 601-879-4395. Whether you're looking for the best in wireless with 5G nationwide coverage, the best in home internet, fiber to the home from C Spire, or the best in what your business needs with business IT services, the team at C Spire is the best. Check them out online at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. I'm Richard Cross. Lance Tolbert in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Richard. What's going on today, man? A good bright and early Thursday, almost to the weekend. Isn't it Thursday? Yeah, this is your weekend where you're sprinting down the finish line and you just pull the parachute and kind of coast into the weekend. Don't have anything to do, right?
We're going to try not to coast. We're going to try to go full sprint into the weekend. Dude, I was surprised this morning. Last night it was pleasant outside. Temperature going to be about the same, but yesterday was the day that we had that breeze out of the north almost all day long. Mm-hmm. When I stepped out the back door this morning, ooh,
a little wintry.
Well, now let's not go crazy.
Well, it feels it when it's been 90.
Just a little coolish. It's like, ooh, this was a sit outside for your coffee morning, and I didn't even know it until I got outside. No time to sit out and drink coffee at that point, but man, what a nice morning. And what looks like it's going to be a really nice day all across the state of Mississippi. West Point, you've got sunshine today with a high of 82. Winds out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Isn't it crazy how your perspective changes based on the calendar? If we were at the end of March, early part of April, and Lance, our forecast was a high of 82 with sunshine and a breeze out of the north, we'd be like, hallelujah, spring is finally here. And then when it's 82 in October, we're like, could we get 68? Could we move in that direction?
Man, it's a little, it says 62 on the temperature gauge right now, but I don't believe it this morning. It's a little
cooler
warmer
than that?
No, it's warmer than that here. We've had that front kind of move through yesterday. It looked like it wanted to rain a little bit in the central area. It never really did. Yeah. But it wasn't hot. But it was really breezy and nice. So this morning, no breeze. It was just like you walk out and like, all right, that's gone. So yeah, it's in mid-60s. It feels like maybe 70 this morning. But again, a little humid. I'm hoping that kind of burns off and have that nice breeze again today. It's nothing like a 10 to 20 mile an hour breeze and sitting on the porch watching the deer. It just feels like hunting season's coming.
Clarksdale, you got mainly sunny skies with a high near 80 today. Winds out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Port Gibson, going to be mainly sunny with a high of 84 and winds out of the north. Gulfport, abundant sunshine and 88 For those of you in and around Gulfport, South Mississippi, your winds 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the northeast. Pretty spectacular day across the state of Mississippi on this 9th day of October. Eugene Bullard was born on this day in 1895. He is the first African-American military pilot. He flew for France in World War I as part of the French Foreign Legion, born in Columbus, Georgia. John Lennon was born on this day in 1940. Going to have a pretty good career.
Yeah.
Of course, the one of the stars of the Beatles, Strawberry Fields Forever, Help. Did Imagine as a solo act, Grow Old With Me. Born in Liverpool. Sharon Osbourne is 73 today. Born in 1952, the English-American music manager and TV personality. She's on The X Factor and America's Got Talent. And, of course, the wife of Ozzy Osbourne, born in London. And you saw, it wasn't too terribly long ago, it was before Ozzy passed away. And it was on one of these reality shows or interview shows or something, Lance, and some youngish girl made fun of Ozzy to her face or something. She lost it. Did you see that?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I never saw it. But yeah, she's always has been very protective of him. He had his hands full. He had all kind of issues later in life that I think he was so good at covering up, and her as well, that allowed him to continue to perform and kind of be the man that he, people remembered him as, but it went downhill quickly with heart issues and I think Parkinson's.
Perhaps some other things.
And perhaps some other issues that need not be mentioned in those things as far as health reasons. But, yeah, she was always, to me, just seemed to be the leader of the band,
Yeah. Annika Sorenstam, born on this day in 1970, Swedish golfer with 10 LPGA major championships. She was 8-time LPGA Tour Player of the Year, born in Stockholm. On this day in 1701, the Collegiate School of Connecticut is chartered in New Haven, Connecticut. Became Yale University. 1701, that's a long time ago. 1781, Americans under George Washington and the French Revolution, and the French under Rochambeau.
Good old Chambeau, yeah.
Say what?
I say good old Chambeau.
Yeah. Began bombardment of Yorktown. It was the last battle of the American Revolutionary War. When the British colonial forces were defeated at Yorktown after a month of battle, American independence was essentially guaranteed, and the guns fell silent as the Revolutionary War ended. The British had been led by Charles Cornwallis, who was backed up by German auxiliary units from the states of Ansbach and Hesse-Kassel.
Had the Hessians in there.
The Americans, commanded by George Washington, were supported by the French. After severely damaging the surrounded British forces in Yorktown and Virginia, Cornwallis said, "Boys, we've had enough." He asked for a surrender on October 17th. Negotiations were completed on October 19th. Cornwallis himself was not present for the surrender ceremony. Said that he was ill. I bet he was.
Powder in his wig, yeah.
He did, however, sign the document. With the surrender, some 7,000 British soldiers became prisoners. And America essentially became an independent state. Having lost the last significant battle on the American continent, the British and American governments began to negotiate a final settlement, which concluded with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Under this agreement, Britain recognized the United States as an independent country.
Yeah, it wasn't until War of
Take that, George!
Then you had a recycling of a few years later in the War of 1812. They wanted another shot at at the title.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. And, hey, by the way, mentioning the Hessians, you know that it is the month of October, obviously, and the Headless Horseman and the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, where was he from? What was his background?
I do not know.
He was a Hessian soldier, apparently.
Okay. Be a tough way to get around on a horse.
Yeah.
Hope the horse had Google Maps. 1928 Baseball World Series, Yankees over the St. Louis Cardinals 7-3 at Sportsman's Park to become the first team to sweep consecutive World Series. Babe Ruth hit 3 home runs for the Yanks. That was back when the Yankees were good at baseball and they could, occasionally win the World Series. Couldn't be today. 1936, Hoover Dam begins transmitting electricity to Los Angeles. We got more coming up with you. Just getting started on this Thursday morning. C-Spire text line open 601-879-4395. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Because I'm sitting on top of the world.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, I ain't superstitious, but a black cat is crossing my trail. Well, I ain't superstitious, black cat, I'm crossing my trail.
Good to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks so much for spending part of the start of your day with us.
Do you ever have days where you feel like a raccoon trying to open a can of tuna fish when it comes to working on your alarm clock? I mean, this morning, I don't know what I was doing, dude.
What do you mean by working on your alarm clock?
Like trying to hit snooze and all that, and you look down and it's like 30 minutes later than it was supposed to be. And, you know, I mean, I did. I swear I felt like a raccoon trying to open up a can of starfish this morning, you know, trying to work that thing. I didn't know what was going on. So
you're saying you came in a little hot this morning?
No, not at all. I just didn't, it was just one of those mornings I was confused and my fingers weren't working right. I don't know if you ever have those days where it's just like everything goes fine and there's just one day where you feel like you're all thumbs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of days, actually. It's more common than I might prefer for it to be. So I know you think I'm like a monkey with a football over here. Cameras all over the place, and so inside baseball, I had a computer that crashed last week while we were on the air. I think I said that.
They had to throw the backup on there.
Well, yeah, but got the new one in place, but still trying to get all the settings right. And it's like, I'm really an Apple guy, but I know how to function in a PC world. But Windows has updated this and updated that, and hold on, my email doesn't look right, and where's the link, and what's the sign-in? And, oh, I don't have a password that's transferred over here, and I got to get this camera connected. Well, it's a process. We are getting there, though. Glad to, just share it all with you. This day in 1941, the Manhattan Project launched. U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt approved an atomic program that would become the Manhattan Project, which would ultimately lead to the atomic bomb. 1969, the Supremes released the single Someday We'll Be Together. It was Diana Ross's last recording with the group. 1986 began a short run of The Late Show with Joan Rivers, premiered on Fox. making her the first woman to host a United States late-night TV talk show. They might not have picked the right woman for that first opportunity. She was fired in May of 1987, did not last a year.
Well, speaking of entertainment, think of this. In 2001, the USO, which is the United Service Organizations, they appointed entertainer Wayne Newton as its official celebrity frontman. This is 2001. Guess who held that spot since the 1950s? Like, literally, it held it, contiguous. So in 2001, that's when he was replaced. Bob Hope was replaced by Wayne Newton.
Bob Hope.
Bob Hope. Think of that. 1950s all the way to 2001 was the front man for the USO, and replaced by Wayne Newton in 01, who wasn't a spring chicken at that time.
Well, he was not a spring chicken. Don Cachet had been out a while.
That's right.
1986, such a magical year on stage. Written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, starring originally Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman. The premiere in London of The Phantom of the Opera. It ran for 13,629 performances.
It's a phenomenal show, too. Man. Bum, 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 bum.
Sarah Brightman was an incredible soprano. Michael Crawford, the original Phantom. Cast is, so good.
Up there in the rafters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Looking around like, what's going on up there?
What happened to that chandelier? All right, news headlines for you. An Ohio-based manufacturing company taking over a steel fabrication business headquartered in Mississippi. Officials with Accellivation, which designs the interiors of data centers, among other functions, announced that the company has taken over operations at Steel Pro in Houston, and it's site in Memphis as well. The 42,000-square-foot Steel Pro facility in Houston boasts a capacity of nearly 40,000 shop hours annually. It's going to be used part of Accellivation's mission to deliver pre-manufactured data center infrastructure to its buyers quickly. Accellivation works with some of the largest hyperscalers in the world, including Amazon Web Services, which is currently in the process of constructing 2 multi-billion-dollar data centers in Madison County. Man, there are a lot of ways out there to make a living, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, the new one, the pop-up data center, that's you're going to see that a lot. People that have a specialty, that niche in a world like that as it develops, being able to do it quickly and efficiently. You know,
hey, what do? We design the interiors and build out the insides of data centers.
Pop that thing up in a month, be ready to roll. Like what?
Yeah, we just figured out a way that was efficient and put it all together and make it fast, and everybody needs the same thing. Wow. That's very cool. President Trump said yesterday that Israel and Hamas agreed to a deal that would release all Israeli hostages held in the Gaza Strip and the first step toward peace after 2 years of war in the Palestinian territory. Tuesday of this week marked 2 years to the day. Trump, who had U.S. envoys help steer peace talks, said the hostages would be released very soon and that Israel would withdraw its troops in the Strip to an agreed-upon area. By the way, it feels like envoy should be named. I have said a number of times that Susie Wiles is the most underappreciated behind-the-scenes boss in this administration. She just keeps it on the rails every single day. President Trump's chief of staff. I don't know that I can remember a person in an administration that has been more impactful in 8 months than Steve Witkoff has been in this Trump administration. With the hostage deals that he has he is the master negotiator within Trump orbit. And Witkoff led the delegation, but you know who else was there? A guy that has had zero publicity this go-around, Jared Kushner, son-in-law of the president. And then you got Rubio involved, obviously, through his role as Secretary of State, but he has also kind of delegated these jobs. So Just an incredible day, an incredible piece of news. Hamas confirmed a broad deal had been reached to end the war, allow more humanitarian aid, and facilitate a prisoner exchange. A reference of the release of Israeli hostages for Palestinians in Israeli prisons. Egyptian officials mediated the talks, said Hamas, and they said Hamas would let the remaining living hostages go as soon as Sunday morning. In a post on Truth Social last night, Trump said, "This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America." We're going to get to this more in the 7 o'clock hour. The reactions, as you would imagine, streaming in from around the world, primarily congratulatory messages.
I think got to say one.
And one thing, Lance. Some of the news outlets in the United States doing exactly what you would expect the news outlets in the United States doing.
Of course.
Showing what is wrong with this deal.
Well, I will say one thing in this. You got to give credit to Trump and his team. Trump has played hardball with both sides. You know, he was not overly nice when it came to Netanyahu, the Qatar deal and bombing. You know, he has been very much, hey, this is not acceptable. If you look on the other war that's going on, too, that's spiraled and continues, he has not been very nice to either side. So, I mean, people that sit there and go, oh, well, he's a friend of Putin and, oh, he's pro-Israel. I think he's been very fair is how I would look at it. And in many cases, very difficult for both sides to have to come to an agreement. But he's stuck to that. And I think that's the art of the deal for him is he knows what's right and he knows what he wants. And it's going to take time, but it took time, and that's what one of his specialties is. He's like he's like an elephant. He ain't moving. And I think we've seen that, and I want to give him credit as well for getting to this point because it takes a leader.
Yeah,
it takes a leader.
Well, there's no doubt, and I think he deserves all the credit in the world. But it's like,
but the others, as you mentioned, they did a great job.
Make no mistake, Trump is going to take plenty of credit for this, and he should. He deserves to. But the people that were back and forth, crisscrossing the globe, sitting in those meetings, there's plenty of credit to go around on this one.
Oh yeah, and I mean, to me, think of the team you'd have had with Biden. Yeah,
we got more coming up. News, sports headlines, lottery update. Got a couple of great guests for you this morning as well. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook.
Waking up, Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. Thanks for joining the conversation. 601-879-4395 on the C Spire text line. Yesterday, the Senate rejected a measure that would have required President Trump to seek congressional approval before authorizing further U.S. military action in the Caribbean. Blowing up the drug boats. You know what we're talking about? Those? Yeah. Yeah, Congress was trying to say can't do that anymore unless we say that you can do that. Those that were for the measure said the president cannot unilaterally decide when he is going to go after people that could create international conflict. Okay. It's not politically motivated. Fair point. The people that were against this measure, against this resolution in the Senate were like, hold on a second. You cannot strip the president of the power to fight against foreign adversaries because he's got to sit around and wait on us to say, yeah, that's okay. Go ahead, pal. The vote was 48 in favor, 51 against, mostly along party lines, but I'm going to let you guess which Republicans voted opposite the way the president probably would have wanted. First guess, Lisa Murkowski. We're shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that Murkowski wouldn't see the world the same way that the rest of the Republicans see the world. Almost because it's like she's not a Republican. Rand Paul. Man, those Kentucky congressmen. I'm having trouble with the C Spire text item. I'm assuming when I mention Rand Paul's name, in the same way that if I mentioned Thomas Massey's name, Thomas would jump in and be all up in arms.
Well, Thomas did say, constitutional limits on presidential power is for chumps. So,
of course he did.
I know that tongue in cheek there, but
yes. So you got Rand Paul voting for it. You got Murkowski voting to limit the power of the president when it comes to shooting drug-running boats out of the Caribbean, out of the water. John Fetterman voted against it.
The voice of reason.
John Fetterman becoming a reliable vote with the Republicans in recent days. Just wait till it really, really matters.
I hope he's wearing a bulletproof vest.
And then Ted Cruz couldn't see fit to vote in this at all. Just didn't vote. Sorry, Ted. Come on. Senate measure came in the wake of at least 4 U.S. military attacks on boats in the Caribbean since early September that have killed at least 21 people. Yeah. Now, there are some that will go, there is no due cause here. We don't know for sure. Do you not trust our technology? Do you not trust our intelligence? I'm not saying it's perfect.
People believe we don't know who's actually smuggling the drugs in. Is that what the question is? Like they think we're hitting fishing boats instead of drug boats.
So what? We're upset that we don't bring them to our shore or bring them on a
they need
Coast
benefits.
Guard boat or a Navy vessel, and
give them
now mind you, bringing boats that are loaded with cocaine, fentanyl, who knows what else.
Probably people, too,
Perhaps smuggling people, racing across the Caribbean, trying to get to Miami or some other spot along the shoreline to dump all this off into the United States so it can be sold illegally, not taxed, enriching people in other countries, poisoning our citizens. And we finally got a president that said, no, you're not going to do that anymore. And they're like, yeah, we are. And they're like, want to bet? And blow it out of the water.
I always found it odd that with the Epstein deal and the money that no one knew where he got it and all the clout and pomp and circumstance, and that no one really ever said, hey, this guy, you sure he ain't running drugs? He's got the island. He's got the Lolita Express. He's got get out of jail free cards. He's got all of this association with how many different intelligence agencies who've been caught over many years smuggling drugs into this country. And no one goes, maybe the guy was actually running some drugs too. Maybe that's part of why we don't want some of this coming out. I think it's interesting. And then all of a sudden we're blowing boats out of the water in the Caribbean. Yeah, it's just some of this stuff. You got to put the dots together and connect them. Got
a dude in charge right now.
Got a dude. That's right.
Let's skip ahead to some sports headlines. Sports headlines brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, the home of the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. 2 18-hole championship courses, the Oaks and the Azaleas, courses that you can play. Book your tee time online at dancingrabbitgolf.com. That's dancingrabbitgolf.com. The NCAA moved a step closer yesterday to allowing athletes and athletic department staff members to bet on professional sports.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Professional sports.
It doesn't matter, though.
The D1 Administrative Committee approved the change, which must still be approved by both Division II and Division III for it to go into effect. This change does not change the NCAA rule, which forbids athletes from betting on college sports. The NCAA also prohibits sharing information about college competition with bettors. Despite the potential change, the committee emphasized that it doesn't endorse betting on sports, particularly for student athletes.
Sounds to me like they just tired of trying to enforce it.
Yeah, that, and it's just everywhere.
Like that doesn't make it right, though.
But it's legalized in the United States all over the place.
But yeah, there's a difference with an athlete in college who may have a friend playing on a pro game, in a pro team, though. So I think that we need to be a little careful.
But I might have a friend playing on a pro team.
Do you speed dial them every week to get advice?
No, but
I'm just saying that
you're making an assumption that the college student would.
Oh, okay, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am definitely making that assumption.
Okay,
just like insider trading and things of that nature. Do you think it's not going to happen? I mean, I disagree, but that's
no. But we've already got a sports world, sports gambling world that stuff's happening.
Sure, but I'm just saying with college kids playing a sport, I think that it's always been a good idea to keep people from gambling on sports if you're involved in playing sports. I bet if you want to get rid of it, that's fine. I don't gamble on sports, so it's not up to me, but I just find that to be a can of – it's not like Pandora's box almost, but whatever. You act like people are responsible. I don't believe we're that responsible.
Well, no, but I also don't think that we should be in the business of legislating morality.
18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids.
Our legislature doesn't always agree with that. Congress doesn't always agree with that. A first for professional golf, Stephen Fisk might have been a last for the state of Mississippi when Fisk was handed the Chicken Trophy given to the victor of the Sanderson Farms Championship. It marked the first PGA Tour win of the Georgia native's career. Of course, that was last Sunday in Jackson, a tournament that has had many names and many locations. The Magnolia Classic, which began at Hattiesburg Country Club in 1968. The Viking Classic was played at Annandale Golf Club in Madison in 1994, went through several name changes. It's found stability as the Sanderson Farms Championship in the Country Club of Jackson. But as Steve Gent told us earlier this week, not sure, still looking, trying desperately to find a sponsor. 2024 was when the news came that Sanderson Farms was not going to continue as the title sponsor, but then there was an about face, and they said, hey, let's do it for one more year. Sanderson Farms is going to continue in their role supporting the causes related to the Sanderson Farms Championship, primarily Children's of Mississippi. But the search for a title sponsor rolls on, remains. And Lance, if you've got an extra, few million laying around and you want it to be the Lance Tolbert Championship at the Country Club of Jackson, I can connect you with the fundraiser.
Man, I would love to do that. Honestly, you might want to get back with me. Let me touch base with a few of my people. Mm-hmm. My team, my financial team. So,
yesterday, Major League Baseball, Tigers 9-3 over the Mariners. That's going to Game 5 in the division series. Cubs stay alive at home with a 4-3 win over the Brew Crew. They're back at it this afternoon. Blue Jays tell the Yankees, go home. Go on vacation. I don't care what you do, but you cannot play baseball anymore this year, you bunch of loser bums. Or something like that. 5-2, Blue Jays over the Yankees. Yankee season comes to an end. Phillies stay alive with an 8-2 win over the Dodgers in L.A. Game 4 tonight. Those are your sports headlines brought to you by Pearl River Resort. PearlRiverResort.com. We're back with you right after this.
From the Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Time for your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. MSLottery.com. That is the website. So last night you had a Powerball jackpot, and there was no winner, which means the jackpot grows toward the next drawing on Saturday. $244 million, $114.2 million, the estimated cash value. Last night's numbers, 8, 10, 44, 48, and 54. The next Mega Millions jackpot coming your way Friday night, $575 million. That is $500 million plus. The estimated cash value, well, that's more than $250 million. $264,600,000. The numbers from Tuesday night, 17, 26, 33, 45, 56. The Mega Ball was 19. Cruising the Coast is rolling full speed ahead, and the Mississippi Lottery is along for the ride. If you're on the Gulf Coast for this premier event, come see the lottery team today from 1 to 3 at Keith's Superstore in Pass Christian. Friday from 11 to 1 at Circle K in Ocean Springs. Stop by for your chance to grab some fun Mississippi Lottery swag, chat with the team, and join in the cruising excitement. Keith's Superstore in Pass Christian today from 1 to 3, Circle K in Ocean Springs tomorrow, 11 to 1. Come spin, win, and celebrate the Mississippi Lottery. Let's see. Hold on, Lance. What did I have for you right here? I had it for you. I've got it for you. Oh, the federal authorities, not the federal authorities, but federal authorities, have arrested a man in Florida accused of sparking the California wildfire that became the Palisades Fire, which destroyed thousands of homes, killed a dozen people, caused billions of dollars of damage. Authorities arrested 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht and charged him with destruction of property by means of fire. Which, by the way, doesn't really sound like serious enough a charge. Like, shouldn't they, if there were 1,000 buildings destroyed, shouldn't they be able to charge him with 1,000 counts? And even if you can't charge him with capital murder, shouldn't you be able to charge him with 12 counts of negligent homicide? Reckless endangerment? I mean, I'm just making stuff up at this point, but destruction of property by means of fire doesn't really, it's a federal charge. It carries a, here's the problem. It carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years, punishable by up to 20 years. Hold on a second. You think you've got the guy that burned down half of Los Angeles, and the charge you bring against him is a 5 to 20 year prison sentence? I mean, it's not like he's got the money to rebuild all the stuff. Investigators went through exhaustive efforts to rule out potential ignition sources, including the possibility that the fire started from fireworks or cigarettes or downed power lines. With clarity, we know this is incendiary fire and that the subject that we arrested started it, said the fire guy. Federal public defender representing Rinderknecht didn't respond to a request for comment. He was arrested near his home in Florida, scheduled to appear in federal court in Orlando later on. I did find this post on X to be quite interesting. You know, anytime we have a disaster of any sort, there is the blame game. And it was caused by this, or this cause that I have, it's evidence that I'm right in what I believe about this cause because, see a fire, see an earthquake, see a tornado, a hurricane, etc. Paul Sperry pointed out on X, virtually every major fire in California that the global warming zealots have claimed was caused by climate change turned out to be caused by either an arsonist or a public utility spark. Not to mention how much more the fires that do happen by arsonists or utility sparks could be contained based on proper forest management techniques. But, nah. All right. 6 o'clock hour in the books. Let's talk more about the ceasefire when we come back.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
Well, I done got old. I can't do the things I used to do.
Welcome to the 7 o'clock hour, Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Glad to have you along for the ride this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. Dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC. Ceasefire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. We remind you that this hour of Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR benefits and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert, appreciate you being with us this morning. The X post from Donald Trump, I guess it was actually a Truth Social post from Donald Trump last night. I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. And no, he did not thank you for your attention to this matter. The reactions by even those who are not Donald Trump supporters came in pretty fast and pretty furious from around the world. On ABC News, this was the anchor joining them from Tel Aviv.
Make no mistake, it looks like President Trump has actually pulled off something here that many presidents before him have failed to do.
Lance, we're talking about 2,000 years of fighting in this part of the world.
Yeah, they've professionalized it there.
Mm-hmm.
It blows your mind, honestly, as you go deep into the history of it. If you just go back, I think Oliver Stone did a wonderful documentary back in like 2002, 03, and I was watching it just to catch up on some of the boiling tensions that have continued. And he interviews both sides, Hamas and the leadership inside Israel, and it was very telling. And Israel's always said, look, we want contractual guarantees of security, 100%. Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking for here. Doesn't seem to be too big of a request, quite frankly, given, as you just stated, thousands of years of fighting. Israel is saying, hey, we have a country, we have a right to be here, and we need security guarantees that you're not going to continue doing this.
They don't even have a country. Yeah. They're not a country.
So,
they're not a state. They are an idea. They're a group of people. Yeah. Gene and Mendenhall. Hey, Gene, I completely understand your sentiment. He says, I'm sorry, you're talking about Epstein. You said you're not holding your breath on, this or the Epstein thing. What, not holding your breath on it lasting? Yeah, I get that.
Well, it ever has, but...
I was going to say, you're just taking 2 millennia of history and going, I'm just going to go with history instead of going with my gut on this one.
And no one will blame you for that at all.
But here was the state from Hamas, and you've got to work pretty long. You've got to look pretty long and far to find something like this ever from Hamas. After responsible and serious negotiations conducted by the movement and the Palestinian resistance factions regarding President Trump's proposal in Sharm el-Sheikh, aimed at ending the war of extermination against our Palestinian people and securing the withdrawal of the occupation of the Gaza Strip. By the way, their wording is not exactly the same as ours or Israel's, but, let them be. The Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, announces that an agreement has been reached to end the war on Gaza, ensure the withdrawal of the occupation, allow the entry of humanitarian aid, and carry out a prisoner exchange. We highly value the efforts of our brothers and mediators in Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey, and we appreciate the effort of U.S. President Donald Trump, who has worked to achieve a complete and final end to the war and the full withdrawal of the occupation from the Gaza Strip. We call on President Trump, the countries guaranteeing this agreement, and all Arab, Islamic, and international parties to compel the occupation government to fully implement the terms of the agreement and not allow it to evade or delay what has been agreed upon. We salute our great people in the Gaza Strip, in Jerusalem, in the West Bank, and across the homeland and the diaspora, a people who have displayed unparalleled pride, heroism, and honor, and who have confronted the fascist occupation's schemes targeting them and their national rights. These sacrifices and noble stances have thwarted the Israeli occupation's plans of subjugation and displacement. We affirm that our people's sacrifices will not be in vain. We will remain true to our pledge and will not abandon our national rights until we achieve freedom, independence, and self-determination. That is from Hamas. It has a little bit of kind of incendiary language in there. It is abundantly clear when you read that. You are reminded that their level of hatred for the Jews is off the charts. I really think it is impossible for those of us who were born in the West, who are Christian, who have grown up with many, many advantages, fortunate simply to be born where we are born. I think it is impossible for us to comprehend the level of hatred that exists between the Palestinians and the Jews. Not all, but many.
And that is the testament of time there, is it is an absolute cultural typhoon. I mean, you can't sort through it.
I suppose that time could heal. This ceasefire does not mean that the Palestinians now love the Jews. It doesn't mean that the Jews now trust the Palestinians. In fact, the polar opposite of both. The Palestinians still hate the Jews. The Jews still don't trust the Palestinians. I mean, even on the other side of the bathroom door. On the other side of the room when they got their own eyes on them. Nothing is changing there. I don't mean this to sound inflammatory. Hamas knows that they simply cannot win. They can inflict pain. They can inflict suffering. They will come back and try to fight again. As much as you want this peace deal to hold forever and ever, amen, it seems impossible. I agree, Gene, with you and Mendenhall when you say, I think you can celebrate that it has happened. And if it lasts for a year or if it lasts for 5 years, goodness, if it lasts for 10 years, I think you celebrate the heck out of the fact that you went a year or 5 years or 10 years without the needless loss of life in this part of the world. But somebody with an itchy trigger finger and hate in their heart is going to fire a missile or a rocket or a gun, and we'll be back here all over again. Doesn't mean you shouldn't celebrate it today. Here's the problem. When Hamas, if this has some lasting effect, when Hamas next goes after Israel, the fire of hell will rain down on them from all over the world. To me, that's the only thing that gives you a chance of maintaining this peace. And that is a fear of hellfire missiles. I'm not sure that that's the best way to actually have peace. But given the lack of alternatives, maybe it works. A banner day in the world, regardless of how long it lasts. Mornings with Richard Cross. Dr. Michael Heindl, president at Northwest Mississippi Community College, will join me next.
From the Venable. Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Quick reminder, middays with Gerard Gibbert will once again today be on the coast as Cruising the Coast rolls on. Today the show will be at the Coast Coliseum. It's brought to you by Gulfport Luxury RV Resort and Vicari Auctions. Check them out. Cruising the Coast with Gerard. Well, Cruising the Coast, Mississippi with the Gerard Gibbert show. On you get the idea. That starts at 10 today. Glad to be with you and glad to welcome my next guest, my friend Dr. Michael Heindl, who's president at Northwest Mississippi Community College. You and I were texting yesterday afternoon, and I had kind of a, whoa, wait a second moment. We were talking about topics and kind of what we wanted to talk about and some of the things that were going on. And I said, mid-semester update. And I'm like, whoa, mid-semester? That means we're already halfway to Christmas in this fall semester. It goes so quickly every year.
Yeah, it just feels like we just started, Richard. I mean, and here we are, midterms, fall break is upon us. Students have really gotten in there. They're in much of a routine right now, doing very well. Sports is in full gear here at the college and all of our community colleges. Man, it's such an exciting time, and such an exciting time in Northwest Mississippi. A whole lot of things going on. Excited to share some of the happenings taking place at Northwest.
I've already heard from one of your football coaches on the C Spire text line saying, "Go Rangers." They've got it rolling again.
Absolutely, and we're 7th in the nation currently. Rangers are rolling. And just real quick on sports, women's soccer, number one nationally currently. We won the national championship last year. Women's soccer did. Again, football played in the national tournament 3 out of the last 4 years. Proud of them. We've got a men's and women's rodeo team. doing very well this fall.
Hold on, Paul.
is,
you got to pause there for a second. You're going to have to say that again because I think there are people now. There are people in and around Senatobia that know that this exists, but there are a lot of people who are like,
they do.
Did he say they have a rodeo team?
Yeah, we do. So led by number one in the world steer wrestler, Coach Will. That's right, Will Loomis is our rodeo coach, and we've had a rodeo team. And again, folks in this part of the world know that, but possibly throughout the state, maybe some folks don't. But we have a great men's and women's rodeo team. All of the great events in rodeo are represented by our students. We've had really great success at the College National Finals Rodeo over the last couple of years, being able to qualify. A number of our students have been able to qualify, hoping to qualify an entire team this upcoming year. But it is a two-season sport, so we've got competition in the fall and competitions in the spring, and all the way leading up to the Ranger Rodeo in April. That's the last rodeo of the season. And it's a big one because this is the rodeo that is really a make or break kind of situation for some student athletes to be able to get into the College National Finals Rodeo. So that's a little bit, just a kind of a snapshot of rodeo. And we've got it all: steer wrestling, goat tying, team roping, barrel racing, bull riding, the whole gamut. In rodeo.
You know, I have a great deal of respect for all of the different kind of rodeo classifications. I mean, there's a great deal of skill there. But bull riders and steer wrestlers are kind of a different breed. And you talk about Will Loomis being the top ranked in the country in that as the coach for your rodeo team. That's a tough dude.
Man, I'm telling you what, he's an awesome. Both he and his wife Jenna are awesome people. He's doing a tremendous job as our coach of the Rangers, and excited. He's been a reserve world champion a few times over the last number of years. Hoping that he goes all the way this year, and again going into the National Finals Rodeo with being number one in steer wrestling. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And so being able to do that and then getting there and then just keeping doing what he's been doing, I think is the main focus. And hopefully he'll be able to see that goal accomplished this year.
Dr. Michael Heindl, president at Northwest Mississippi Community College. There's something going on at Northwest that I think is happening at a lot of community colleges in Mississippi. And that's kind of expansion of campuses and some strategic partnerships that are happening with the state and with industry. It doesn't, to me, feel like we're that far removed from, Northwest is in Senatobia, and, they've got a small Oxford campus. And Itawamba is in Fulton, and, I said that wrong. Is that right? Yeah, Itawamba's in Fulton. And Northeast is in Booneville, and
Booneville,
Gulf Coast is in Perk, and that's where the community college is. But that's not really how it is anymore, because yes, you've got the Oxford campus, and you've got this incredible campus now in Batesville, right there where the outlet mall used to be, and there's a footprint that is growing for you and for other community colleges in the state. How did we get to this point?
Yeah, I think we really got to the point, I go back to just a recent report from Georgetown University. They're talking about, this growing skills gap of citizens in the United States, as individuals retire, there's this a need. And so what you see is our governor, Governor Reeves, Lieutenant Governor, Speaker White, state leaders like Courtney Taylor, Bill Cork. What's been happening is they've been doing this amazing job of bringing business and industry into the state of Mississippi. And of course, along with that comes the need, the demand for skilled workers, jobs. And so, again, I mentioned there's another study, World Economic Forum just came out, Future of Jobs report, talking about, there's 170 million new jobs that are going to be created between now and 2030. And so, what are we doing about it? It's a tall order for community colleges and universities in our state to fill the order of this demand for skilled workers in our state. And go back to looking at top industries where our community colleges, universities are really filling that need with students and in training. You talk about healthcare programs that we all have, professional, scientific, technical services, information, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. Just skilled trades like HVAC techs, welding. That's a program that we just started. We've had it for a number of years at a few locations at Northwest. But again, talking about the concourse in Batesville, this is a new program at the concourse this fall in Batesville. So excited about that campus. It continues to grow in terms of its students, the training that we've been able to offer in Batesville. We have an amazing diesel tech program there. Of course, Wind Job Center is located there, adult ed training, industrial automation and controls, engineering, technology. Try to say that fast. And then, like I said, the welding, robotic welding. That's just one example of the programming that our community college, of course, Northwest is, I'm speaking about it, but all of our community colleges have an eye and mind and focus toward these needs, these businesses and industries that really need these workers, both now and in the future. There's a worker shortage, like I've mentioned, and so we're just doing our very best. And there's some pressure, right? With that, comes pressure when the governor makes the announcement of the 3,000 jobs here and the 100 jobs there and the 2,000 jobs over here, and certainly some in the northwest part of the state of Mississippi. Certainly like in places like Marshall County, Lafayette County, Tate County, all of the counties that we serve, then, that puts some pressure on us. And we're okay with that. But, again, that has really led to enrollment growths at our institutions. Just holistically, the 15 community colleges in the state saw this fall a 5.4% enrollment growth over this time last year. I'll tell you, at Northwest, we've had 12 semesters of positive consecutive enrollment growth, and we're proud about that. I'm proud of that, to be able to say that. A lot of colleges cannot say that. A lot of colleges in the United States cannot say that. And so to be where we are, to be able to have the programming that we have, we're really, really excited about all the things, taking place. Yeah. Even things in DeSoto County, programming there.
Let's get to those
services to the community.
Let's get to those on the other side of the break. C-Spire text line. I think this is a great summation message. High quality, affordable education in our community college system is why they are thriving. I think that's really well said. We've got more coming up with Dr. Michael Heindl. He's president at Northwest Mississippi Community College. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We'll take a quick time out. We're back with you right after this.
Wait a minute, hey, fellas. I said, hey, fellas, can I tell them what you did? Do you really want to know what you did? She pulled my shoes off. Oh, that's what you did to me. She put my shoes off.
From the Seabrook
segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Today on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you'll hear an interview with Mississippi music historian Wesley Smith. It's coming up this afternoon at 1 o'clock right here on Super Talk In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar. Dr. Michael Heindl, president at Northwest Mississippi Community College, is my guest. I was thinking about this during the break, and stigma is not the right word. It's just not. I think maybe reputation is the right word. There is a time when the reputation for community colleges, or junior colleges as they were once referred to, was that people went because there was either an academic reason, a social reason, or an athletic reason, and those were kind of the issues that popped up for why people went to community colleges. That, to me, feels like it has changed. The reputation for community colleges, especially here in Mississippi, with this incredible community college system that spans across the entire state. Would you co-sign on that? That reputation is no longer there, that there are a myriad of reasons, including what we mentioned before we went to the break, high quality, affordable education, available to basically everyone, is the reason that you have the growth and you have the success that you've had?
Absolutely, I would say so. And there's something very special about community colleges, and certainly in Mississippi. It's really, we talk about the hot topic of the day, which is, skilled training, short-term training, this, health science training, career technical training. But we at Northwest, I would imagine that in most cases from community colleges in our state, it still is true and still is the case that a majority of our students at Northwest, it's like 55 to 60% of our students are still on that. They're taking the first 2 years of that 4-year degree at a community college at an affordable rate. I mean, accessible, affordable, and so what they're able to do is like what my son was able to do. He's a senior at Ole Miss now, but he went to Northwest, got his associate's degree from Northwest, joined Phi Theta Kappa, which is the great International Honor Society. It's actually headquartered in Jackson, and but for the entire world, that is Phi Theta Kappa. And so he joined that. He was able to get an amazing scholarship at Ole Miss. And that's what students, I think, are finding, is that, hey, you know what? I can go to a community college first. I can get amazing attention, great instruction from some of the very best faculty in the business, and then be able to avail themselves of athletics, avail themselves of student activities, clubs, organizations, student life, that is very similar to a university type experience. And so, yeah, I agree completely with you. Phil, I'm a community college product myself. Attended Hines Community College many years ago. But they're finding, students are finding what my son found. My other son, he got his associate's degree from Northwest, and then now he's back. He was following an academic track of study, but he's now back at Northwest in the cybersecurity program. I'm thinking, how awesome is that? How great of a career path he's going to have. Yeah. Because, my son, who's the senior at Ole Miss, he really wants to get into mental health. Talk about an amazing opportunity for students in our current society to work in mental health. And I'm just like, bless him, but my other son, he's really, really enjoying the cybersecurity networking program that we have. And a great, he'll finish at Northwest, go out and work. So it's like, students are finding that they've got amazing pathways, amazing options when it comes to community colleges. And I couldn't be more excited. I mean, just personally, those are my personal stories.
Sure.
But that kind of mirrors what students' experiences are when they come to a community college, And so, again, very, very exciting time for students.
You talked about a son at Ole Miss. The relationship between the community college system and the 4-year universities that are in Mississippi, is it the best that it's ever been?
I really think so. We've got partnerships with our university friends. Students can seamlessly transfer to universities. And we've got a close relationship with Ole Miss, obviously, because where we're located. We're talking about even further collaboration, further partnership. You talk about the National Center for Narrative Intelligence, which is based. A lot of folks in the state don't know this, but we have a national center for what basically is artificial intelligence, but also with storytelling and making sure that narratives out there in the cyber world are true and are accurate.
It's almost
combating that. It's amazing.
It's almost like you knew that Joe Stradinger at EdgeTheory, who is the founder and CEO of EdgeTheory, which focuses on narrative intelligence, is going to be with me coming up in the 8 o'clock hour this morning.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So we're talking very much with Joe and the National Center on campus, and really hoping to be the first year, possibly the first credential level of that, the first year or two into that training for students that are training in narrative intelligence. What an amazing and new training opportunity, and it's really very, very, very important to our nation in terms of defense, in terms of just usage and citizenry usage on the internet. So but yeah, it's programs like that. It's programs like our nursing program at the DeSoto campus in South Haven, where we have a brand new registered nursing program there for the first time in DeSoto County. How exciting is that? Practical nursing moved from its existing location on campus to the new facility. It's called the Ranger Center. We have a career technical training there, commercial electrical program, flexible workforce training for business and industry. And, we've got great relationships with economic developers. I mentioned, DeSoto County and Jim Flanagan, Justin Hall in Marshall County. But what's exciting, too, is happening is a regional collaboration with Panola, Tate, Lafayette, Yalobusha counties. And what they're doing is kind of what's happened and been very successful on the east part of our state, the northeast part of our state, with entities like the Pole Alliance, where you have counties now, economic developers coming together to pool resources, to really bring those resources to bear for the benefit of counties, the citizens in those counties, and to draw in business and industry. So we have a role to play with that at the college. Our community colleges have a role to play, as I said, with workforce training, business and industry. We've got some new programs coming at Northwest. We've got that residential electrical program we're excited about, pilot training. We have an amazing aviation maintenance program that we've had for many years. But in Batesville, we hope to, in the next year, bring on and hope to take off, pun intended, with pilot training. And so we're excited about that. We recently had
sounds like there's going to be a simulator.
Absolutely, there will be, and there will actually be a real live aircraft, Ranger Airlines or whatever. We're excited about that. But so we've had recent conversations with aircraft manufacturers, and probably going to be moving forward with the purchase of some aircraft. And what this does is it allows us to provide that for, again, the first 2 years of what could be a student can stop out there at that point with private pilot licensure, but they can continue to go on and get that commercial 4-year degree at Delta State. Is, again, great partnership. Richard, you mentioned the university partnerships, great relationship with Delta State as well. Shout out to Dan Ennis this morning. Doing a great job at Delta State. But anyway, so students could do that, save a lot of money, be able to then transfer to Delta State and get that commercial 4-year pilot degree. Things like construction management, construction trades, cyber security expansion, those type of things as well. Not to mention, again, as I mentioned, the narrative intelligence and just working with our university partners. Bachelor of Applied Science at Mississippi State, even. Shout out to Mississippi State, my PhD alma mater. So
there you go.
Absolutely great relationships there.
I am always encouraged about the things that are happening, specifically at Northwest and more largely at our community colleges. After a visit with you, Dr. Michael Heindl, I appreciate your time this morning. Look forward to talking soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Richard. Look forward to talking again, man.
We'll catch up down the line. A lot of good things happening at Northwest Mississippi Community College. Dr. Michael Heindl, the president there. We will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour with you. Coming up next, Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Oh, yeah.
Jay Wright. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate Michael Heindl being part of the conversation as well. C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire Business, backed by world-class IT professionals that live where you do. That's right here in Mississippi. Check them out online at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. Much of the news world is focused this morning on the announcement of ceasefire agreement, the first step in the end of the war between Israel and Hamas. And really the first thing that has to happen is the prisoner exchange or the hostage exchange, depending on how you want to look at it. The reaction from those who still have loved ones who are part of that hostage situation has been just euphoria. Thousands of jubilant Israelis gathered in a Tel Aviv square earlier today, Thursday morning, hopeful for the return of hostages held in Gaza after 2 years of fear and worry, many wearing stickers that said they're coming back. A group of beaming Israelis sang, clapped, and jumped in a circle in Hostages Square, which has been the scene of weekly rallies calling for the captives' return. One woman said, "We have been waiting for this day for 734 days. We cannot imagine being anywhere else this morning. It's a great joy and immense relief mixed with anxiety, fear, and sorrow for the families who haven't and won't get to experience this joy." Lance, so much of the conversation surrounding the war between Israel and Hamas has been political in nature, right? The rights of Israel to maintain its borders, the role that the United States plays, demonstrations, protests, violence that we've seen at home, not to mention what has happened in Gaza, of the pro-Palestinian side or the pro-Israel side. Which team are you on? Are you on Team Israel or are you on Team Palestine? But regardless of where you fall in this, and thankfully there's some people that have kept their focus here, you've got lives that have been lost, lives that have been changed and altered forever on both sides of this conflict because of the nastiness of war. It's like we talk about war sometimes in the abstract. Like, oh yeah, they're fighting each other and there's another bombing and this hospital was hit and this aid is being denied and, you know, and on and on and on, without the personalness of people dying, because it's thousands of miles away and generally speaking we're not related or we're not close to someone who's in that part of the world who's dealing with the loss. So much of the focus is on Israel and the celebration of the Israelis with, hostages coming home. But I would imagine that maybe not so much for the war fighters, but for the innocent people of the Palestinian side of things, gosh, can you imagine the relief and like the mix of emotions related to that announcement that came yesterday and what's going to happen over the next few days in the release of prisoners, hostages, even those who have been killed, the remains, like, so that there's some finality. It must be an incredible, almost hard to understand feeling for those people.
It probably is almost paralysis to a point now, where you almost don't believe it. But as time passes, as anything, as you mentioned earlier, hopefully time heals some wounds. It's not going to with certain segments, obviously, but those that, as you stated, the non-war fighters, the families, those people that were just trying to get up and go do a job, as this settles in the dust, hopefully people are able to get back to some semblance of normalcy. And with all of the refugees, and that's going to be a constant issue to deal with for Israel and the rest of the world. As you said, the war is ugly. There's nothing anybody can say good about war. And death and destruction. It just didn't.
I had a conversation a year or so ago with Bruce Pearl, the former head basketball coach at Auburn, who is very much pro-Israel. And it was interesting hearing him say, Richard, he said that the Palestinian people are beautiful people. He said, Israel's beef is not with the Palestinian people per se. It's with the terrorists. It's with Hamas. It's with the evil that's related to that. He said the majority of Palestinians want to get along with Israel. They want to go to work. They want to worship. They want to interact. They want to have family barbecues and everything else like the stuff that we do. But that's just been hijacked by the terrorists. So here's hoping that segment of the population is what ultimately is raised up in all of this.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine! Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Just give me light this morning down on Parchment Falls.
Welcome again, Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. I'm excited about our next conversation, and I hope you will be as well. I think that there is an opportunity, I know there is for me, but maybe for all of us to learn a little bit. Sometimes there is a fear when you visit with somebody that going in is so much smarter than you that you're not even sure you can ask intelligent questions, but we're going to give it a go. Joe Stradinger joins us now. He is the founder and CEO of EdgeTheory. Their offices are located on the Ole Miss campus, but they are an independent company. They're at Insight Park. And this is a company that is founded on the idea of narrative intelligence. And Joe, I appreciate your time this morning. I feel like that might be a good starting point. What is narrative intelligence? Everybody's familiar with AI, the idea of artificial intelligence. This is new for a lot of people. Good morning.
Sure. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Narrative intelligence is simply put is how do you understand and apply how stories and information, whether true, false, or manipulated, how are they created, how do they spread, and how do they shape human perception and behavior and decision making. So it's really a blend of the human expertise of linguistics and history and media, but it's really tied to artificial intelligence. And how do you understand the war of ideas that we're all in? We call it narrative intelligence helps you understand. You mentioned war on your earlier segment. But narrative intelligence is fundamentally the way you understand cognitive war, which happens every day.
When I started hosting this show about a year ago, and I operated in the sports world for a long time before kind of transitioning to news and politics, one of the challenges that I found just kind of out of the gate was, okay, in terms of gathering information online, what do I believe? What's real? What's opinion? What is completely fabricated for gain, for whatever organization is putting it out there? And I feel like there are a lot of people that look at maybe consuming news that way. Is there anything that's not agenda driven? Is there anything that is just fact? Is that at least partially what we're talking about in this narrative intelligence world?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there is nothing that the narrative doesn't influence. I mean, narrative influences culture, business, wars, elections. But the challenge today is, you talk about just we're having a conversation and we're talking. The art of conversation, communication, the narrative storytelling has been around, since the beginning of man. No matter what you think. I mean, obviously from cave walls, people communicated and influenced people through storytelling. Then there was this thing called the printing press. Then there was radio. Then there was TV. Then there was the internet. Then there was social media. But what's really, so this is not the problem is a human problem, but it's exacerbated by the medium. And so what you have today is, influence has been around forever, right? Russians, gladly talk about how they use propaganda. Excuse me. The problem is the medium today, and it's so noisy. And now we all have AI, and we're all, contributing to this incredibly large information environment. And I don't think people really have an understanding of how big the information environment is. And that's social media. That's a lot more. That's emails. That's everything. And that contributes to a big, big problem, which is what is true, what is false. And as we all know, it doesn't really matter sometimes, unfortunately, if it's true or false. A narrative, a story can have tremendous lethality, right? And so a lot of times we get stuck. It is very important. I believe in truth from my worldview, but unfortunately, our adversaries realize that truth doesn't matter. You can put a narrative out there and it can destroy a company. A narrative can, destroy an election.
When I think about evolving technology, there, at least at the core, is okay. How can this do good? But in the wrong hands, evolving technology can be used for nefarious purposes as well. I'm assuming that you and your team at EdgeTheory are trying to work with the good guys. But is there a fear in the development of technology that, okay, you're trying to sift through all of this information and figure out what's real and how you can use it? Is there also the ability to create false narratives in maybe a defense scenario where you're creating the story that you want out there, as opposed to kind of in the same way that Russian propaganda exists that you were talking about a second ago?
Yeah, 100%. Well, first of all, yes, our adversaries, our U.S. adversaries, outsource to people like myself, not us, clearly, but to companies like what we do. No, there is extreme major networks of disinformation to bot networks and so forth that are used every day by our adversaries to go put out false stories and to hack our mind. And if you think about it, think of like cybersecurity. Think of cybersecurity. What that is how do you protect all these computers that are connected together? The attack surface, and being hacked from a cyber standpoint is hacking, a computer, and you can typically go find where a vulnerability is, and smart technical people can patch that, and we all get an update on our computer. The problem with cognitive security, if you will, cognitive warfare with narratives is the attack surface is not computers, it's our minds. It's billions and billions of minds around the world. And it's very, very hard, as you know, to debunk a narrative. It's almost impossible to debunk a narrative. Once someone is hacked, once someone has something, we can see this on the left and the right, it's done. And so absolutely, there are people that are using this stuff very much in a very bad way. However, put in the positive, we as individuals, as companies, as Americans, as governments, clearly need to go tell the good story, the true story, and we need to, I think, do that much more. But yes, from a position of importance, we have tremendous support from the Mississippi congressional delegation and the Department of War. Cognitive warfare is a very real thing that's taken very seriously.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, and I know you don't want to run down line by line your client list and who all is using your technology and exactly how they're using it, but give us an idea of the types of entities. You mentioned the Department of War just a moment ago. Who's using this, and how are they using it?
Yeah, I mean, we can't say who's using it exactly.
No, I understand.
But, folks in the Department of War, and then, let's not forget. I mean, I think local businesses in Oxford, Mississippi, should be using this, in the sense of understanding narratives that impact their supply chain. I mean, there's nothing in narrative. I mean, healthcare narratives impact health outcomes. Narratives drive vaccine adoptions. Narratives drive pharmaceutical, acceptance, and so. But our clients range from the Department of War, intelligence type stuff, all the way to commercial entities. And we also work with friendly nations. We work with other governments that are part of our friends, that are in parts of the world where narratives are very, very important. So it's all over the board. But the exciting thing is, we do it out of Mississippi, and that's what I get excited about is. Yeah. I think Mississippi has a really important moment in time right now.
What about political campaigns? Is this something that has been adopted for campaigns in terms of not only shaping their message, but understanding how their message is being received?
We do not work with any political organizations, but it would be very powerful for those. I think we try to stay out of that world. But yes, I mean, politics is, it's an art, right? Detect, assess, and shape perception, right? Mm-hmm. And influence people on hopefully your beliefs. So yes, I mean, the key takeaways are: how do you constantly every day detect and assess narratives that impact your business, your operations, your campaign, and then how do you respond to them, right? And I think you have to think of this world. We work a lot with students, tons of students across the country. We're all in a cognitive war, and I think that's not a bad thing. It's just, we always have been in since the beginning of time. Again, it's the medium that people don't realize that's changing, and AI has just, we still don't, even the smartest people in AI don't really know what tomorrow is going to hold. And so the information environment is getting so big, it is critical for all of us as citizens, to small business owners, to the Department of War, to understand what are the narratives that are, hitting upon us, and who's behind them.
I get a message on the C Spire text line that says Joe's pretty smart for a boy from the Delta. somebody that I think has known you for a long time, perhaps. Let's continue this conversation if we can on the other side of this break. How do you stay nimble in an industry that is evolving so very quickly? We'll talk about that when we come back. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Joe Stradinger is my guest, founder and CEO of EdgeTheory, a Mississippi-based company that, I don't think I'm overstating this, is changing the world. We're back with you right after this.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Keep everything in the formula. Upset in every way.
Glad to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Joe Stradinger is my guest. I'm wildly fascinated with this conversation and this company. He's founder and CEO at EdgeTheory, based here in Mississippi. Joe, there was a story earlier this week that you may have seen. I'll just read you the first sentence from this. A new report reveals that Israel has launched a $145 million global campaign aimed at countering rising international criticism, including the use of generative AI platforms like ChatGPT to shape narratives in its favor. I don't know if this is exactly what we are talking about, but after our mutual friend Ryan Miller mentioned to me the other day that I should visit with you, I saw that story and I was like, that feels like it's connected, even if it's not connected directly to edge theory. It's kind of the same space that we're talking about. It is that even close?
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, you look at just not to get too much into that particular war. That's a really interesting. It's amazing how, we look at the world as like the cycle of narrative-based influence. Everything in the world, there's triggers. Triggers happen around the world. October 7th was a trigger, right? Triggers create chatter. Chatter creates narratives, and narratives have impact. And the classic example that's been the most significant is October 7th. And when that occurred, that was a trigger, right? And that created lots of chatter, lots of noise. But then, a false Facebook account had proposing to be the IDF, said they bombed the hospital. Everybody thought that the Gaza hospital was bombed, which was actually not true at all. But what that created was narratives, both on both sides of the media. Now narratives were being done, videos, shows, and then what do we have? We have literally the flipping of the greater Jewry from going from being David to Goliath. And that all happened because of one trigger and one narrative, right? And so there's no question. I think sometimes, every country needs to push their story and hopefully in a truthful way. But absolutely, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, that's a big idea, right? That's a big narrative, changing the world's perception of people. But 100%.
The story from a couple of weeks ago, United Nations was gathering in New York. It was the day that President Trump was speaking to the General Assembly, and it was the same day that the news broke that the Secret Service had uncovered 100,000 SIM cards and a lot of back-end hardware that would be able to, at least as the way it was reported, push out 30 million text messages a minute and drive the entire cell network offline in New York City. And then we got a subsequent story this week that said they've uncovered another couple 100,000 of these SIM cards, and maybe it's tied to China or maybe not, and we're kind of figuring all of that out. But in terms of how the Secret Service or other intelligence agencies discover that, are they using platforms, I'm going to say like yours, just as a layer of defense, are they using this narrative intelligence in terms of information gathering to find tips online that could lead to the breakup of terrorist cells? Or is this something altogether different?
No, it's 100%. I mean, again, there's kinetic warfare and then there's cognitive warfare. Cognitive warfare is always the narrative. The narrative always precedes kinetic warfare. It's during kinetic warfare, and it is after something that's kinetically happening. So just think of cybersecurity. When you get hacked and you don't click on the email for the phishing exercise, that's all cognitive, right? There is, again, our adversaries take this very, very seriously, and they have tremendous assets that they outsource and privateer to do these things on a daily basis. And quite honestly, they're and our company is pretty well. I mean, we are pretty much the group behind understanding Russia, China, Iran, CCP, stuff like that. They're all in this cognitive war. And very, 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 very much participated, and again, openly participated. And of course, it's easier for them, right? Because they're not a democracy. So it's much easier for them to do lots of interesting things, but it's very, very complex.
We get a question for you on the ceasefire text line, 601-879-4395. How do you distinguish between a narrative and an opinion? He goes on to say this study of narrative behaviors and perception can be bad actually because the perception of an opinion can be perceived as a narrative. Then we circle back to censorship and being used as narratives when those are actually opinions. There's kind of a lot there in that question, but you understand what he's getting at? Yeah,
I think, again, narratives are stories. And again, when you detect narrative intelligence and you detect how stories evolve, it's what is the narrative? And it changes every second of the day by these types of people. And then that narrative many times is lots of folks that are saying the same thing. We use AI in a very, very deep way. That's an actual good way to use AI. We study how narratives are similar, because today, we live in an information environment that's getting so big, on crazy multiples every day, as we all contribute to GPT and create more information. That creates the challenge, and the scariest statistic of all is that 90%, it is estimated, 90% of all information online will be synthetic by next year. If you just think of that, that's a significant stat. And so a lot of people look at keywords and how things are traveling. The challenge is, and what we do with AI is, how do we understand how a narrative is starting, just like a virus. There's a patient zero, right? COVID.
Sure.
In this world, there's a patient zero. And so understanding how that narrative started and it mutated and it traveled through different words and different languages, we show how people are part of a narrative that have no idea they're together in that narrative, right? Just think of that politically. So I think opinions, again, sadly, it's very important. Narratives and opinions are a part of the overall story making, are very, very powerful, whether they're true or false. I mean, just look at Charlie Kirk, and I don't care where people are on that end. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. And we study the worst people in the world online, all publicly available information. And I've never seen anything how they take narratives like that just to further divide Americans. Every day, they'll take narratives like that. So you take any narrative out there, yeah.
No, so that's a really fascinating example, because whether you were friend or foe of Charlie Kirk, generally speaking, you looked at this and go, this is awful. But in the aftermath, if you just take the right, the conservative side, there's this battle within conservative voices of who was responsible. Is the government telling the truth? Is Israel behind this? Was this an inside job? Was it set up? There's no way that this actually unfolded the way that they say it unfolded with the shooter on the roof. Because I don't know that I've ever seen anything like it, almost infighting among conservatives in the aftermath of this guy who had such a big voice on the conservative side.
And I will tell you, that fight is being fed and amplified by bad actors against America. I prove it every day. It is. I've never seen anything like it. And that was a dark, dark day in so many respects. But I've never seen anything like it. Number one, is the greatest proof of the lethality of cognitive warfare, right? Even within our own country. But no, our adversaries take things like that. I'll tell you one that always rises interest when it was happening in Washington. But they'll take things like the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis, an embarrassing narrative, an embarrassing story that still pops up. And I can prove to you and show you, I can't, but I do, how Russians, Chinese, and Iranians take that narrative, the Mississippi water crisis, Jackson, Mississippi water crisis. They've never been to Jackson, Mississippi, but they will take narratives like that and flood the market to hack our minds. You have no ideas, fake accounts on Facebook, whatever, TikTok, etc. And they will push both sides of that issue, right? Systemic racism, poor leadership, what have you. And they just do that to divide Americans. They don't care who wins elections. They just want to sow divide. And that's a very, very serious thing that happens every day.
So maybe deep down, we're not actually as divided as it sometimes appears we are?
100%. I think, look at social media. I've been in it for a long time, way before social media. I think, most people are in the middle and we just consume, but the loudest voices always have the voices. So,
yeah.
But at some point, if we have a second, I want to talk about why Mississippi is so key to all this.
All right. You got time to hang through the break?
I do.
All right. We'll keep the conversation going because this is a really fascinating topic. Joe Stradinger, founder and CEO at EdgeTheory. He's my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
From the C
to get started today.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
My rose.
Ron in Ocean Springs is fascinated with this conversation. He said, can you send this guest info or website? Fascinating. EdgeTheory.com is the website. Edge, E-D-G-E, theory.com. And there are some websites that are kind of cookie cutter, and this is not one of them. There is a lot of information there. Joe Stradinger is my guest. He's founder and CEO of EdgeTheory. He and his team are based on the Ole Miss campus at Insight Park, and they are working throughout the world. If you missed it before the break, you can go back and grab this entire conversation after the show online at supertalk.fm. You can download the podcast. Joe said he used the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis as an example and talked about nefarious global actors like Russia and China and others who took both sides of that issue and then amplified the narrative to sow discord among the right and the left, Mississippians against each other. And he said they don't really care who wins elections one way or the other. They just want to divide Americans, which is a fascinatingly scary idea. But before we go down the road you said you wanted to go down before the break, the impact that this could have on Mississippi, I would like you, if we can rewind for people that maybe are just joining us. I've got an 8-year-old daughter she's pretty inquisitive. Like, she wants to know why and she wants to know how, but her level of understanding is not like the level of understanding for a PhD student. So can you explain to an inquisitive 8-year-old girl or boy what edge theory is, what you do, and how you do it?
Yeah. Edge Theory, obviously, is a narrative intelligence company, and what we do is we study how understanding narratives and how stories, narratives that you get on, if I'm talking to your daughter, narratives that come to you all come in the form of TikTok, or I hope your daughter's not on TikTok.
She's not, thankfully.
But TikTok, okay, thankfully. I could have a whole discussion on that. But whether it's TikTok or Facebook or YouTube, every day we all as humans, young or old, are look at stories, and whether we believe it or not, they're influencing us, and they're creating perception, and we're influenced from every direction, good or bad, and that happens every day. And so what we do is study how those narratives start, how they grow, how they spread, who's behind them, which is extremely important, and how they're influencing a target, which is us. And so that's a very high level, and how we do it is, of course, we're very deep into AI to understand it. But that's the level. And I think one thing that Richard, that when I first it's interesting how I got to Oxford. I ended up somebody of your listeners said I grew up in the Mississippi Delta, which I love, and then I left and lived overseas, started my career in Dallas, lived everywhere, Budapest, and I came back to raise a family in Mississippi, which I'm so thankful for. But the one thing that I ended up having 2 kids go to Ole Miss, and met Dr. Boyce, who was just really the first person who really understood me and saw the vision of what this could do for our state. And Dr. Boyce was incredible in that. And a lot of things happened around that building. We put our lab there, as you talked about, and then we created the National Center. But one time he asked me, hey, we want this in Oxford, but why Oxford? Why Mississippi? And the answer is, why not? I mean, why not Mississippi? I mean, I'm so tired of, sometimes Jim Barksdale's my partner, and he always talks about how back in the days at Netscape, people would ask me if we had an airport, in Mississippi. I get that all the time traveling the world, but at the end of the day, this is the best place to study narratives. There is no better place than Mississippi. We understand the art form of conversation and narratives and storytelling. Oxford itself is the home of some of the greatest literary minds there is in the world. And so if you think about the world being one big cognitive war, for good and bad, why not have Oxford, and not just Oxford, but everything in Mississippi, be the home of this entire new ecosystem? And so I think Mississippi is the place. I say it all the time. I say it in Washington. I believe, Richard, this is our Huntsville moment. This is our Huntsville moment as Mississippi. How do we be not one of many, but we one of one? There's just no one better than us. And when you have a rural place like Mississippi, that's not all bad. When we don't have everything in New York City, that's not all bad, because we actually are curious and we think critically. And we have young minds in the Mississippi Delta to Oxford High School that are brilliant. And I think we have an ability to really, train young minds on this art form, which we all take for granted. And we become the greatest assets for, businesses, healthcare, energy. I really see that being the vision here.
It's fascinating to me to hear you say that, and maybe for some of our listeners as well, because the story of Mississippi, the narrative of Mississippi, is one with a great deal of complexity, a lot of twists and turns, and the truth is we are not today who we were in 1960 as a state, but there's so many that still, to the way that you described it, Mississippi, do they have an airport? Can they read? And I think one of the great marketing lines that I've ever seen come out of Mississippi was the poster that said, "Oh, Mississippi, can they read?" And the tagline on it was, "Yes, and we can write a little too." And it listed some of the authors that were there. So does EdgeTheory have the ability to help change the narrative for the entire state of Mississippi?
Absolutely, I would love to do that. We're starting to work with leadership here. I mean, I've been focused very heavily at the national level. We want to work with all the state leadership. We just Ryan Miller, our mutual wonderful guy. He put us in touch with Oxford High School. We launched the first ever AI training through narrative intelligence in the country at Oxford High School. And we're now trying to work with other folks, how we can take that to 500 high schools in Mississippi. Oxford obviously is a very successful school, but how do we go to places like I grew up in Greenville? There are brilliant young minds that might not need a 4-year education, but they understand the art of storytelling, right? And that's an asset. And I think we have to look at it that way. We focus on, I think, so many things in Mississippi that are, again, we need to do a lot of things to develop our state. But I get excited when we have young minds that come into our lab, and we give a lot of exposure, Richard. We have people from the intelligence community and the Department of War. I still can't say that, Department of War. We have lots of interesting people come into our lab, and these kids get real exposure. So I think it's I like to see us. I think there's a whole workforce, if you will, that's not necessarily training the welder or training the political science person, but the narrative and understanding narratives applies to anybody in any discipline. Think about it, and so we, in our lab, we have kids from, I don't care what you care about. You love sports. I guarantee you the narrative, right? The narrative has a lot of play in sports.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking a second ago, I'm like, I bet there's a recruiting department across campus within the football program that was like, if we could shape the message surrounding our program and not rely on national writers to do it, that could be really fascinating. Last thing I want to get to, Dr. Michael Heindl from Northwest Mississippi Community College was on with us earlier this morning, and he mentioned a partnership that existed between their students and EdgeTheory and the National Center as well. It sounds like you're branching out to tie as many young minds, using your word, to this as you can.
Yeah. I mean, Ole Miss is our home, and we're on campus. And again, like I said, the vision started there. We obviously want to be the Huntsville, if you will, for the entire world. And so we want to work with all of our high school, community colleges, and 4-year universities, 100%. Again, I think we have a lot of talent, and I think there's, especially with community colleges, there's 2-year degrees, but there's also just certificates, right? Understanding narrative intelligence, because I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a politician, I want to be a sports et cetera. Narrative intelligence certificates, which is what we do in our lab, can be applied to anybody. And so, yeah, we were very excited about all these partnerships in Mississippi and abroad. Our lab actually sits in Oxford on Ole Miss's campus, and we have some incredible events on campus with Ole Miss. But we also have students in our lab from 25 states that virtually come together every day. And again, another great asset, Nate Flake. A shout out to him who runs our lab. He grew up in Oxford, Mississippi.
I sat next to him in biology. He was in ninth grade. We sat next to each other. He was an incredible cross-country runner. He went on to Stanford. I spent 7 years getting an undergraduate degree at Ole Miss. He's one of the brilliant minds I've ever been around. What a great guy.
Yeah, so he runs our lab, and he loves students, and he was an awesome asset to Ole Miss in the flagship Mandarin program. But man, what an asset! And it's really fun to see smart students. The other day, I was at
we got 20 seconds on the break
in Water Valley. Yeah. But every kid should be in our program. Love it.
Joe, I appreciate your time so much. I hope we can continue this conversation down the road, and wish you continued success.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Mornings with Richard Cross. That's Joe Stradinger, founder and CEO, EdgeTheory. That's happening right here in the state of Mississippi.
In the
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Again, my thanks to Joe Stradinger from EdgeTheory.
Good old Delta boy.
Yeah, I hope you were as interested in that conversation as I was. Several of you have jumped on the C Spire text line with your thoughts on it, saying that you enjoyed it and fast. That's a very different type interview than a lot of the ones that we do. But love the opportunity to highlight Mississippi companies, leaders who have chosen to be in Mississippi and have a vision for what our state and what our hometowns can become. Just super, super cool stuff. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances? Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Actually had lunch yesterday with John Paul Ray, who is president in Tupelo and kind of overseeing a lot of their North Mississippi operations. Great visit with him. Excited for some big things that are coming up with our friends at Community Bank. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Ron in Ocean Springs says, you need a whole hour with that guest. Very interesting. Very good.
I think we could do a remote.
We nearly did it, Ron.
Theory. Yeah, I think we could do a remote at EdgeTheory. You know?
Yeah. Lance, do you think Joe can reprogram our brain to be smarter?
Oh, definitely.
That was a great interview. Yeah. Thank you.
I am smarter now. That. You know, I mean.
Hey, and I want to say thank you. I mean, Joe mentioned him as well. A friend of the program, friend of mine personally, Ryan Miller, who you've heard on this show many times through the years, was listening earlier this week when we were talking about that cell phone SIM card story, and he sent me a message. He's like, "Hey, you really ought to talk to Joe." And Alex was able to get that scheduled for us. Joe was able to work it in with what I'm assuming is a very busy schedule that he keeps.
Well, and, he just lets the computer do everything, right? I mean, you know, he just. I'm kidding. Yeah.
Somebody's got to tell the computer what to do and make it gather the information.
It's
Gosh, did that hit you, Lance? And maybe you're smarter than I am. You probably have thought about this before, and your interests are so varied. But the idea that Russia, China, I don't know, the Hamas organization, whoever else that is an adversary out there, would take something as local as the Jackson water crisis, would pick both sides of the story.
Oh, that's how you play it, baby.
And then would weaponize the story in and of itself to pit people against people, not because they care about whether or not the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi is Lumumba or Horn, but because they're just trying to sow division and discord
and you also,
within pockets of America.
Yeah, you get the paralysis by analysis. You see, that's a phrase we'd use in finance a lot. You know, when you dig in too much, you get too many opinions. This one over here and this one over there, and everything cancels itself out. And all of a sudden, you can't do anything because you don't know what the truth is. And that was extremely big-time business for the many years that I did that. So finding the truth has always been the greatest challenge in whatever you do. So yes, it is something as innocuous as Jackson, Mississippi and the water problem. Of course you can create many different opinions and narratives that you can force toward people today much easier than you could have back, let's say, just 10 years ago. So yeah, I mean, if you're not weaponizing these things, even if they're not your adversary, you're probably not on the cutting edge of the way the world works today. So having someone like Joe that realizes this and is able to sift through it makes a huge difference. And we need to do that because this is it is a weaponization of information, and it is something that definitely changes opinions and confuses opinions. And I think that's one of the hardest things to overcome is the confusion of not knowing the answer, not knowing which way to go, not knowing who to believe.
C-Spire text line, I'll be at work in 5 minutes. First thing I'm going to do is check out that website, EdgeTheory.com.
Do it.
That may not be great for your work productivity for the first
up.
half hour or so, but that was great. Man, you want an uplifting note to finish the day? I got one. Joe gave it to us. We're not as different as we think we are. We're not as divided as we think we are. We're not as divided and different as we are led to believe by what we read online and what the media tells us. We're really all a whole lot more similar. Remember that. We are blessed to live in the great state of Mississippi, and don't you ever forget it. It's a pleasure for me to be with you every single morning. Dave will be in tomorrow with Lance. I'll be back with you on Monday. Have a great Thursday. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.